All right, today we're playing The Legend of Zelda on this little 64 gigabyte USB thumb drive, and it's USB-C or USB-A, and here it is. It's a little retro bat build. It's very, very, very tiny, though. Like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, no Nintendo 64, some Dreamcast. It's tiny, but it's cheap. Let's check it out. Currently have the USB drive hooked into my USB slot. I have an Xbox 360 controller, and then I'm on this brand new, freshly formatted computer here. This is like a $150 laptop right here. It is a Core i7, but this is like a 7-year-old laptop or so. And let's go ahead and view extra large icons, and this is how it comes. The first thing you want to do is, if this is a brand new computer, I did have to do this, run the DirectX repair. It'll install all the DirectX, all the drivers you need to get started. There's a little document here that tells you a little bit about the build, that is plug and play, and how to get it started. Exactly what I'm telling you. And then you have a RetroBat over here, and here's what you want to open is the RetroBat exe. All right, and then here we are, starting with Atari Lynx. Now, all games, 8,371 games is what we're working with here. And this is RetroBat. You can hit start on your controller here, play with all the settings. You could change the theme, the way it looks. You could change the sound settings. You can make it not click. You can make it click. All kinds of customization here. But just right off the bat, what you're interested in is the systems and what it comes with. This is a really small build, but when I saw this item on Amazon, it's only $25. So you cannot get cheaper than this. It does come on a little thumb drive, and it is plug and play. You just put it in a laptop or computer and you're ready to go. Let's look at the systems here. Atari Lynx, Game & Watch, NES, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, Game Gear, Dreamcast, Naomi, Neo Geo Pocket Color, and then PSP, and then Supervision. And so, as you can see, there's no PlayStation, there's no PlayStation 2, there's no, there's a lot of systems, right? Commodore 64, regular Atari, Nintendo 64, you know, so missing some systems there, and then nothing above GameCube. Now, with 64 gigabytes, you're really limited on space, so I don't mind that they did this. But let's go ahead and go through the collections really quick. So Atari Lynx, you got 82 games. You see it's got some nice photos on it, and I've tested all these games, they work. Game & Watch, 59 games. You know, most of you are probably not going to play these games, but it has it. Now, NES. 1,800 games. The Nintendo did not have 1,800 games. Well, if you watched the video I did not so long ago, and a lot of these builds, they're using kind of the same NES ROM set, and it's including Famicom, homebrew games, and everything in between. But as far as like if you want to play The Legend of Zelda, which we will be trying in this video later, you just go to the T for the, and then you know, you'll find it there when you go down to the TH, the. Should be right around here somewhere. The Hunt for Red October, or The Great Waldo Search. It's in here somewhere. There you go. The Legend of Zelda. And as you see me go through these games, you'll see down here there's a little American flag. Oh, this is a touchscreen, so I just loaded the game. So yeah, look at that. The touchscreen works for the. Anyways, I hit select and start on my controller to exit the game. You just hit select and start. And what I'm saying here is just it's a big like hodgepodge buffet of ROMs in there, and so it has all your games though. If you think you want an NES game or Famicom game, it's probably in there. Now Game Boy. Here's where things get kind of interesting. 1174. Now it has your Mario games, things like that, the Wario Lands. I checked it all out already. It's got it all. We're not going to go through all 1,000 games. But for example, when it comes to Pokemon, which is a very popular game, let's go down to Pokemon. They have the Japanese variants, and they have the Spanish variants as well. So you can see here, Pokemon Gold Edition Special Pikachu, it's in, this one I think is even German. This one might actually be in English. But when it comes to Pokemon Blue, oh no, it's not. There's not English. I think it's Spanish or something like that. It does have Pokemon Red though. It has the Britain flag or the UK flag, and it does come in English. But there's no Pokemon. I could not find a Pokemon Blue in English, is what I couldn't find. I found it in other languages, but not English. So that's kind of a bummer. But it does have your Wire Lands and your Super Marios. And then while we're talking about Pokemon, Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance had the what is it? The Sapphire, I think, is on that console. I always forget all the names, but Game Boy Color, I think, had most of them. Oh yeah, here we go. No, here you go. You got Japanese, and then you got to go to Pokemon to get out of and then French, and then Japanese, and then you have Pokemon Pinball, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, Pokemon Trading Game, and then it goes to Polaris. So, again with the Pokemon, with the Game Boy Color, you might have to, if you're looking for the Pokemon game, a small little detail, not there. But as far as like Mario Kart and Super Mario, it's all there. Now, Super Game Boy Advance, again, all the games are there. Pokemon, I'm pretty sure is actually okay on this one, but it has all the Marios as well. Some people like to check this because, especially on these builds, those are the games they're going to be playing. So here you go. Yeah, this one is all set up. It has the English version of Emerald, and then French, Japanese, and then it has Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Pinball, Pokemon Ruby in English, and then I think, did we see Sapphire? I think Sapphire we did see above there. No, so no Sapphire in English, but you have it in Japanese and you have it in Spanish. And yes, the words are in Spanish and Japanese, but if you played the game a lot, you might be able to get away with it. Now, let's go back. We skipped a couple consoles. Game Boy, most of the games. Super Nintendo, this is every single Super Nintendo game. You're good to go. You name it. Everything from, Super Street Fighter 2 to Zelda, Aliens, Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, it's all there. Game Boy Advance, 1,800 games, a lot of Japanese titles, all kinds of stuff all over the place. Play Novel, Silent Hill. Nintendo DS, things get interesting here, 643. This is where I think they scrubbed out. Now, this is not all the Nintendo DS games, right? So it is not a complete collection, one. And two, it doesn't have any of the Nintendo games. No Donkey Kong, no Super Mario Kart, no Super Mario, and no Pokemons here. So maybe there's somewhere else. I didn't painstakingly go through every single game, but I went to P and I went to T and I checked those where they should be. And to be honest with you, a lot of junk games, in my opinion, that probably most of you will not play. So I feel like that's maybe where they can take some games out, and Chuck E. Cheese has a game, party games. That's where they could take some games out and maybe add some more. Now there is a chance that maybe just the ROM set, the way the ROMs are. No, I mean, the more I look at it, it's not looking too good. Yeah. So this looks like more of a safer, not many of your popular titles launch. Yeah, so don't get too excited about the Nintendo DS. Game Gear. So if you notice the trend I'm noticing when you're going through these, most of these are portable systems. So I feel like with the 64 gig, maybe they're thinking you're going to put this with the Asus ROG Ally or something. But Game Gear, it's got all your games on it. I like the Game Boy system as a whole growing up using it, but I just don't. I would way rather play some of these other consoles myself. But the Game Gear doesn't take up much space, so it's not like you're swapping it out for another console. Now, Dreamcast and Naomi, you are taking up a lot of space on your little 64 gigabyte. Some of these games could be like 500, almost half a gigabyte to a gigabyte. So, fun games though. The Dreamcast collection has some good games in it. And Marvel Capcom 2, Ooga Booga, Power Stone, Sega Bass Fishing 1 and 2, Sega Tetris, Street Fighter 3, Double Impact, Street Fighter 2, The Grinch, King of Fighters 2, Tennis, Volgar, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Back to Zombie Revenge. And then you have the Naomi games as well. There's some like similar games from the other one, like Crazy Taxi, Dead or Alive 2. But you got some fun games here. So as we were going through these games, we're almost at the end. It is a very, very tiny build. But remember, it's only $25, right? So fairly cheap. Neo Geo Pocket, Neo Geo Pocket Color, I'm not really going to get into those. Same with Supervision, you only have 66 games. Nothing crazy. Now PSP, these are PSP minis. 193 games, they're all PSP minis. I did not see a single full-size PSP game like Ridge Racer or Mortal Kombat or Ratchet and Clank or anything like that. So these are all going to be minis. I can just go a little faster here, going through the minis. Now, some of these games are fun to play, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some fun, interesting games there. Yeah, like 3-2-1 Super Crash, great little fun game. But, you know, nothing big there. So what are you really getting here? You know, the NES, Game Boy Color, you know, this is still light years better than those little mini systems that we're paying lots of money from as far as like total games. But do you realize that we're tiny on this one? Is very tiny. Now, I do like the idea that it's a little USB thumb drive, so you can duplicate it, you can drag and drop, you can expand it, you could transfer it to your main hard drive and then just use the thumb drive for something else. You have some flexibility there. So please just be sure you know what you're getting into here. RetroBat itself is awesome and all the different settings you can do on it. Let's go ahead and play some games, but it really is tiny and that's all you're gonna get on this thing. So you know, you get what you pay for on there. There's lots of builds bigger. This company even makes a bigger one. I have it in my hand here. They make 128 gigabyte, which has way more games on it, and it's only like 10 or 20 bucks more. So you might want to look at that, and then you can go even bigger than that if you'd like. This one is the 64 gigabyte. I wouldn't get too excited about that one. And they give it to you with this USB-A to USB-C. So especially like, you know, everything's USB-C right now. Like my laptop primarily has USB-C type slots. It's no longer USB-A slot. So it does have the adapter, so it should work for most modern computers, but also older computers. And then you get a little keychain that you can like wrap around. It's got a little hole right there. And then it does have a laser etching on it. It says Hyper Base Tiny. All right, final thoughts. I've been mentioning it throughout the video, but this is a good time for a PSA that you can absolutely download RetroBat for free and then just load the ROMs you want on it and buy your own thumb drive, do all that stuff on your own. You can always do that. It's always available to you. I just understand some people like the plug and play, but also some people want to know what exactly do you get when you buy these types of builds. And as you can see here, if you are really on a budget or you just want to play these older consoles, then this might be all you need, and so you save a bunch of money. Overall, it works, like out of the box. You run the run program, you load it up, it's working fine. These games do not require much computing power. You could put this on a really old laptop and it'll run just fine. So there's not a lot going on. Dreamcast is gonna be the hardest thing to emulate, and as you see here, it runs just fine. So everything's set up. The cons of this build are it's so tiny, it's really limited, and also, as you saw, there's some weird things going on with the ROM sets, but that's pretty typical for these things. For the most part, you know, you saw what games are there. If they're there, they run, they're good, they're actually well labeled. They're just not necessarily 100% complete, but as you saw, there's some are complete, like Super Nintendo. So, you know, I went through each one, showed them to you. If it's what you want, great. And I don't think you could beat it for the price, but that's what I think. Let me know what y'all think. You know, there's lots of things out there on the market. As far as small and cheap, this is definitely great in that department. But if you have higher requirements, there's other options out there for you.